Shut up and sit down.
Great companies don't hire skilled people and motivate them. They hire already motivated people and inspire them. Skill can be overrated, especially when you consider that a lot of people that we hire are just not teachable. Now, I can teach skill to a motivated person, but I can never teach an unmotivated person to use their skill wisely, consistently, and with dependability. Doing this wrong has cost me a lot of money down through the years. How do you hire motivated people? Now, usually you hire them based on their skills and worry later about fit, flexibility, and motivation later. No, I hire motivated people, teach them how to do the job that I need done, and it's worked out much better over the course of my career. I remember watching the Ernest Shackleton story in IMAX version when IMAX screens first came out. Shackleton set out to explore the Antarctic, and the story was lived out in 9 stories worth of cinematic ecstasy. I found out he wasn't the first to discover it. Actually, it was a Norwegian by the name of Roald Amundsen. But no one had ever crossed the continent via the southern tip of the Earth before, so Shackleton is the one who's first credited with doing that. Now, the crossing of the South Pole continent would be the biggest, most expensive polar journey ever attempted at a cost of $250,000, and that's over 106 years ago. That 1,700-mile trip across the pole, beginning at the Weddell Sea, traveling through South America, through the Ross Sea below New Zealand, would be grueling and dangerous. On December the 5th, 1914, accompanied by 27 men, Shackleton set out for the Weddell Sea on the Endurance, a 350-ton ship that had been constructed by private donors within the British government and the National Geographic Society. By this time, World War I was raging in Europe, so money was scarce. The dog teams were paid for by private donations, which largely came from English school children, believe it or not. But the crew of Endurance never made it to the continent of Antarctica. Just a few days south of Georgia Island, deep in the southern Atlantic, the ship encountered mile after mile of packed ice, and the ship was trapped as the ice closed in all around the ship, and they became stranded in the Antarctic for 10 months as the Endurance drifted slowly north until the pressure of those ice floes finally crushed the ship. On November 21st, 1915, the crew of the Endurance watched their ship sink into the frigid waters of the Weddell Sea. Stranded on the ice, the crew of the Endurance boarded their 3 lifeboats and landed on tiny Elephant Island. Shackleton left all the men there except 5 of his most trusted sailors. They embarked on a hazardous journey across 800 miles of rough seas to find help, and eventually they did. Now, what makes this so incredible, so remarkable, is not the expedition, but that through this entire ordeal, there was no mutiny, no loss of life, no distancing from leadership. This was no accident, and Shackleton hired only men who were a good fit for the challenge. He found the right men for the job. Now, here's the real kicker to this story. How do you think Shackleton found this amazing crew? Yeah, with a simple ad placed in the London Times. Well, how do you hire people? Don't you kind of do the same thing? Today we use Indeed.com or maybe Craigslist, or we might even enlist the services of a headhunter or a recruiter. We provide a list of qualifications that we're seeking in our candidate and expect that the best candidate is going to be the one that meets those skill requirements best. Is there anything wrong with that? Well, a sample from you or me might say, sales representative needed. Minimum 3 years experience, must have working knowledge of the industry. Come work for a fantastic company, fastest growing company in the industry, paying top dollar, wonderful benefits, and you might get some hits. You may even get dozens or hundreds of applicants. But how do you know who's the most motivated? Now, if Shackleton had lived in our time, his ad might have read similarly. It may have said needed. 3 years experience, must know how to hoist the mainsail. Come work for a fantastic captain for top wage and bragging rights. Rather, Shackleton was looking for something more. So he asked for something different. He was looking for a crew that belonged on an expedition like this, and his actual ad read, and I quote, "Men wanted for a hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition only in case of success," end quote. Could anybody read that ad and say, "I'm excited about this"? Who would be motivated to respond? Actually, there were thousands who did. And 27 men who fit Shackleton's needs were chosen. They loved the insurmountable odds. It wasn't about skill, but rather about those who were willing to be inspired and would accept the challenge. And Shackleton hired only people who believed what he believed. Their ability to survive was guaranteed in this resolve. Hey, when your employees belong, they will guarantee your success. Train for skill. Hire people who can be trained. Motivate people who want to be inspired, who love the challenge. You see, all great leaders have the ability to find good fits for their organization. Herb Kelleher, president of Southwest Airlines, said once, and I quote, "We don't hire for skill, we hire for attitude." I took the challenge of a great author, Simon Sinek, who really pushes the envelope here. He challenged me to ask companies, agency owners, sales coaches about the people that we like to hire. And the only answer I'm given is we only hire passionate people. But how do you know if somebody's passionate during an interview process? Everybody looks passionate during the interview process, but not everybody's passionate about the work. Truth is, almost everybody on the planet's passionate. The question is, what are they passionate about? Not that long ago, a state-of-the-art entertainment center was built down in Detroit called the Little Caesars Arena, home of the Detroit Red Wings and Pistons and high-end concerts, probably 75 times a year. It's rented out for that. And that arena opened on September the 12th, 2017 with a Kid Rock concert off the hook. Well, as part of the opening ceremonies, they had testimonies from people who worked on the site up on the big screen, and one guy by the name of Frank Mills, a local Detroiter, who had done nothing but perform critical welds to hold massive steel beams together. This guy could not contain his excitement. When he was interviewed, which I saw taped on TV, he cried into the camera lens and stated he had never been so impacted by a project in his 30-year career. He continued, "This is my home. This is my Red Wings, my Pistons, and I put my entire soul into every weld, day after day, month after month, and we have a beautiful stadium to show for it." And he said all this with tears just streaming down his eyes, and it brought down the house. And I watched it, I had tears in my eyes. Well, I know Frank, so I was pretty invested in the story, and I ran into him last year at a Lions game, and we reminisced a little. I told him how impressed I was with this passionate testimony that was caught on camera, and he just smiled. And I said, "Well, what are you doing now?" And he said, "Yeah," and you could almost see his face drop as he began to speak. He said, "Well, we're working on a department store in downtown Detroit. It's some junky department store that's going in near the arena." And I asked why the sad face. And he said, "It's just not the same as working on an arena." You see, it all came down to purpose. Frank loves his work, and he's made to feel like his work is something bigger than himself. When he is, he's part of something bigger than himself. That sense of passion and attitude and motivation and inspiration and enthusiasm, that desire made Frank the best fit for the job. But when he lost his passion about the new project, the fit wasn't quite as good. Now, you're never going to find out if a person is passionate until they're put to the test. What is the test? You are the leader in the room. You tell me, what is the test? The test has less to do with skill and more to do with attitude. That's the best advice I can give you today. Many of you are talented executives. You have the ability to manage operations, but great leadership is not based totally on operations. Leading is not the same as being the leader. Being the leader means you hold the highest rank either by earning it or having an ability to navigate internal politics. But leading means that others are willing to follow you, not because they have to, not because they're paid to, but because they want to. Now, you may say, Mark, I'm beginning to see the light. Hiring the right people has less to do with the right people than it does with me being the right leader. You see, a right leader drills down into the soul in an interview with less concern about skill set and greater emphasis on prospect reaction. People will often tell you more by what they do not say than by what they do say. If somebody's trying to sell me on themselves in an interview, the interview is done. I don't hire polished salesmen. Give me a human with less skill, but a willingness to learn and a sense of belonging and a willingness to be inspired and motivated. Now, it may take me longer to get the machine up and running, but in short order, I will be outperforming Mr. Hotshot, hot sales pants guy. In fact, here's my ad. I'm looking for a teachable person who wants to be part of a team. We will help you discover pride in your professional life and grow in the belief of you. I promise you inspiration and motivation to help you accomplish these goals, and we will pay you well. Drop the mic, walk away. That's it. That's my ad. As part of this assignment today, I would like for you to write your ad and share it with a colleague. Have a conversation. Thank you. Thank you for being the leader that you were meant to be. I'll see you in our next episode, team.